faster, thus meaning that you can get to your locations quicker and not have as much PK energy buildup. And the defensive wall is used to prevent the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper from wandering in certain areas of the map. If they run into you, I believe that you will have to return to Ghostbusters HQ to revive all of your Ghostbusters, and you will lose money and time. So, we don't want that to happen. Now that we are properly equipped, let's go bust some more ghosts. And one of the things that you probably want to try to do if you're playing this is you want to try to vacuum up these ghosts that you run across as much as possible. Reason being, by vacuuming them up, you keep them from reaching the Zool building. If they get to the Zool building, they will dramatically increase the amount of PK energy that is being stored in the city, meaning that it'll put you that much closer to the end of the game. Now, it will build up naturally over time, but we want to make certain that it doesn't build up so fast that we don't have a chance to pay back our loan. Because doggone it, if the city's going to be destroyed, we are not going to let that happen as long as we have outstanding bank loans. And for some reason, there are multiple Slimers. I don't quite understand why this is, but it exists. This is the thing. As you can see, whenever the ghost entered the Zool building, the PK energy spiked. Now, we shouldn't have any problem paying back our loan. That's usually not an issue. At least not in this game. Some of the other games, it is an issue. The NES game, it's more of an issue. And I suppose I'll take a moment to talk about some of the problems I have with the NES game, because I really don't like the NES version of this. I do enjoy this version. I do not enjoy the NES version. And that's because of a couple of things, actually a variety of different things, that Bit Software changed whenever they ported it. Because it was originally on the computers, computers like the Commodore 64, probably the Amstrad CPC, wouldn't be surprised if ZX Spectrum. But when it was ported to the Famicom, Bit Software changed a variety of things. One was they made it to where that you had to worry about gas. Now, admittedly, that does make sense, and it does kind of go with the overall feel of monetary management and whatnot. But it is a major pain in the hindquarters whenever that you're trying to run around and bust ghosts. Because there's nothing worse than running to try to answer a call, only to find out that, oh wait, too bad, you ran out of gas and had to push the Ecto-1 all the way to the gas station, which does happen in the game, which is not, again, not fun. On top of that, it was much easier to run into cars and other vehicles in that particular game. Meaning, oh, that's not good. Okay, I'll grab the rest of them. Meaning that it was much, much, much easier to lose money. And again, that's not fun. On top of that, unlike this game, which gave you, depending on which vehicle you bought, a variety of different slots to put equipment, warning's going off, but there's nothing here. Now there's something here. You only had 4 slots in that version, which meant that your inventory was significantly limited. You didn't have nearly as much equipment that you could buy, so it did help somewhat in that regard. But it was still a major pain, especially since you actually had to buy your proton packs. They had unlimited energy, so at least they did have that going for them, but you had to buy the proton packs, which doesn't make a single lick of sense. Granted, buying the ghost traps doesn't exactly make sense either. Okay, now, what just happened was that the ghosts were about to form the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Now, if you have ghost bait, what you can do is you can throw down the ghost bait whenever that they go together, whenever they start to form the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It will attract them, and it will keep the Marshmallow Man from appearing. Now, not only does that save the building and save you from having to spend the money apparently to rebuild it, But on top of that, the city actually rewards you with an extra $2 grand for each time that happens. Meaning that if you're a little bit away from being able to pay back that ever important loan, well, few attempts at the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man forming, and you could be sitting pretty. Ghost Bait had a much different purpose in the NES version. Another thing about the NES version that was different was that in this version, you're using your beams to basically corral the ghosts, to kind of lure them into one particular area so that you can capture them. Now in the NES version, you actually would capture the ghosts in the beam. They would actually get basically stuck in the beam like you were lassoing them. And seem to have lost my train of thought. Okay. And it was, as a result, it was, which I did actually kind of enjoy that. The graphics, though, were much, much worse. Like, ridiculously subpar, especially for the NES. Especially since I believe that version on the NES actually came out closer to Ghostbusters 2's release than it did to the original Ghostbusters and the original game. Okay, so we have lots and lots of money at this point. So if we wanted to, we could just sit back and let the ghosts continue to pour into the Zool building until the PK meter tops out. Now that's one thing that's very different about this version compared to another thing that's different about this version compared to the NES version. In the NES version, you did not want the PK meter to top out, because if it did, that meant it was game over. Instead, you had to get your 10 grand, and then you had to go to Zool building. Now, if you didn't have instructions, this would leave you very, very, very confused. Okay, we now have to go to Zool. Now, this is what the last part of the game was in the computer version. You had to get past the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Now, in order to do this, you have to get at least 2 Ghostbusters into the building. Not that difficult to do. Now, the Sega Master System added the climb on the staircase to the top of the building, which is technically Dana's apartment building, and not Zool building. Now, you do not have an energy bar. If you get touched by a single ghost, you will collapse. So be very careful. You can fire your beam in 2 directions. You can up and at an angle and straight forward. Now, different types of ghosts have different movement patterns. These yellow ghosts will slowly home in on you. These Slimers will just randomly bob about. Later we'll have ghosts that will be throwing projectiles at us, such as that. We do not want that to happen. Now this is, it blasted. I really want to see Zool. Don't want to have to, I really want to show the fine folks watching at home what the fight with, well, not Zool, Gozer. Gozer the Gozerian. I don't know why they kept calling it Zool. Zool was one of the dogs. Zool and Vinz Clortho. I don't get that. I don't get why Zool gets top banana. They could call it Vinz's building. The Vinz Clortho Memorial Complex. Okay, if I'm careful, I can, okay, get around him. Okay. Oh, we're not going to see Zool. We're not going to see Gozer. Oh, well. Now, one thing that is nice about this version Yes, we didn't rescue the city. However, one thing that is different about this version compared to the NES version is that you can actually pick up where you left off, basically. If you fail to win the game, you can input your initials that we put in at the beginning of the game, along with this account number, and we will start with $32,800. Now, I'm not going to play through this game again because because there are other games I want to get to. Maybe some other time I'll try and play through it. But so even if you don't manage to do it successfully the first time, you can pick back up and continue, and it will be much easier in future playthroughs if you do that. Now the NES version, even though I didn't make it up Zool's Staircase, I can usually make it all the way to the top of the building and fight with Gozer. The NES version, however, is much more painful, and at some point I might show you the NES version and go on about how painfully annoying it is. Okay, so now that that is completed, we will bring out another game. Let's see. What shall we do? Well, I can show off one of the licensed Rambo titles. Rambo First Blood Part 2. Which, looking at the box I have now, when it was bought at Hills, it was priced at $27.97, which would mean that this cart cost over $50 in equivalent money, in today's money. So this is the equivalent of a $50 game right here. Of course, then again, this is, you do have to keep in mind that this was of the time. Now, this is Rambo First Blood Part 2, which is not built specifically to be a Rambo game. This is a license that was placed on top of an existing game. The existing game was called Ashura Warriors, or Asura Warriors. I'm not entirely certain how it is pronounced. I do not have the name directly in front of me, so I'm going to have to go off memory. It is similar in some ways to games like Commando. In fact, it does remind me quite a bit of Commando. You have two weapons. You have your normal standard gun, which you can't really rapid fire that much. And you also have your explosive arrows, which were used to great effect in that movie. You use the arrows to destroy huts and rescue people who will give you helpful items, such as screen clearing bombs. You're also a one hit point wonder, which means that we are not going to get very far in this game because I am not good at it. And that was kind of cheap. Also, you apparently don't have any continues. So that, well, we'll play it just a hair longer. We'll see if I can't do a little bit better than what I did the first time.